Who doesn't love the sweet taste of honey? Well, if we don't do something about the current bee crisis, then soon enough, we won't have any honey left to enjoy.
I'm Maddie O'Hearn. I'm here with Sophie Fries, and we're going to talk about some bees. I guess I'm really interested on how you got started. Like, how did you get your bees? How did you come by your bees?
Carolina Honeybee does beekeeping classes, and then you can buy like starter package, and you get your first hive and books and veil and gloves in April. So I purchased that in October of whatever year that was, and then in April of the following year, you get literally a box with mesh on the sides, and it is full of your bees.
Can you tell us what goes into harvesting? I guess have you ever done a bee harvest before?
Yeah. Don't like take actual comb out of my hives because once you cut the cap off and you drain the honey, that frame is reusable for years and years and years. That's another great thing about beekeeping is that your equipment lasts for a long time because the bees want it to. It's a lot of us working with the bees rather than keeping them or managing them. It's really like, what do they want? What do I want? And finding alignment in those values. Honey is their food source that they produce. And so when we harvest honey from bees, a lot of commercial beekeepers, so people who keep bees they have like 50 hives or something, and they keep bees for the purposes of harvesting their honey. Those bees are still doing all of the wonderful ecological things that we appreciate bees for. And when you take all of it, when you strip a hive of its food source, you have to supplement that. So a lot of beekeepers will supplement with these sugar cakes or sugar water. That is sort of like the commercial side of beekeeping, is turning a hive into this like production powerhouse. Normal honey harvests are in the spring when that sort of first bloom comes through. And so there'll be a big peak in bee population and a big peak in honey flow. They're much more complex than any sort of human structure, in my opinion. And they run their shit, and I just am around to watch it.
I'm here with Tyler Carlson, who is a senior at Furman University, and he's been working at the Shy Center with the bee populations for a while now. Why do you think bee populations are so important?
Without bees, there'd be no. I think I saw statistics like around 90% of the food that comes to our plates are provided from bees and through pollination. And then that's mainly the largest thing, but there's also many material goods that we get from bees, such as propolis, wax, honey, per se, and all of those have different uses.
Hey, why do you think that bee populations are dying out across the United States?
So there's many factors that can play into this. One of the largest ones is habitat destruction. So bees thrive within like wooded areas, such as like the woods you find behind Furman. But as humans start to encroach onto these like virgin lands and develop them into neighborhoods and other things, the bees are just losing habitats and places to live. Use of wide-scale pesticides is just becoming a larger and larger problem. Mainly neonicotinoids. These are the ones that are currently being used across the United States. The problem with these is that they attach to the bees, and at the concentrations that they pick them up, it's not large enough to kill an individual bee. However, the bee will take that pesticide back to the colony where it will bioaccumulate within the wax, within the nectar, within the honey, and then eventually it will reach a concentration that it just wipes out the whole hive, and there's not much they can do.
Tyler, I know that bees are a big part of your life and kind of what you do at Furman. So I was wondering, I guess, why you decided to start a bee club and why you're so engaged in all of this stuff.
I've been a beekeeper for about 6 years now, and when I first came to Furman, I linked up with the Shy Center to just get involved with their beehive populations. Um, and I was one of the few students that knew how to take care of the bees. And using that, I just took care of the populations and made sure that they were sustained on this campus. But as I get closer to graduation, because I am a senior right now, I get a little worried that no one else is as engaged as I am within the bee populations and want to keep them on Furman's campus. So I created the bee club in order to like spur the community into engaging further in the bees, so I can get some underclassmen to understand how to take care of the bees, and then with that we can like create a community of people who will like well outlive my time here at Furman. When I first came in, we had 3 hives, and unfortunately, within the first summer, all 3 hives absconded, meaning the bees just took up and left because there was a lack of food in the area. Right now, we only have one hive on Furman's campus because that's all. We didn't really want to jump back in to get 3 hives because it's a big step compared to just one.
I know that you told me that you were here last summer, kind of working with the bees. I'm just curious as to how, I guess, the behavior of the bees change from season to season. I guess winter compared to summer months.
It's actually kind of funny because within around the springtime, that's when the bee populations are the greatest. So a healthy hive in the spring or in early summer can have around 60,000 bees, and most of them are out foraging, going for the nectar and pollinating other plants. However, in the winter, this is when you see the most, like, the largest amounts of bee population death because the hive will drop down to roughly 1,000 bees, and this was completely natural because there's just not enough food sources or food supplies within the hive to sustain 60,000 bees throughout the winter. So the 1,000 bees just kind of hunker in their hive throughout the winter. And unfortunately, this is when most of the problems start to kick in. So if you have like a mite and a varroa mite infection, this is when the populations get small enough that they can't chase the mites out of the hive, and then the mites will take over.
I know from other controversial issues, a single person doesn't believe that they have the power to kind of make a change. So I was wondering, how could we deal with this issue and kind of make a change in general and protect and sustain the bee culture?
Yeah, so there's a lot of things that we could do. Obviously, the number one issue is to stop encroaching upon their native habitats. Another one is to reduce the amount of pesticides, mainly neonicotinoids, that we use. But this is more of an industrial agricultural thing, so that's something that we need to tackle as as a community, as a government, instead of as just what one single person can do. However, there are a few things that a single individual can do. You can obviously take up beekeeping. It's really fun. It's not a lot of work, and you get a lot of material benefits such as honey, wax, propolis. So it's all there.
If you enjoyed our video and would like to learn more about how you can lend a helping hand to save the bees, go on beinformed.org and just remember to be humble.
Bees, if they eat fermented fruit, they get drunk as humans do. So when they're drunk, they like can't walk right, they can't fly right. So when they go back to the hive, they'll, as humans do, they'll get the munchies and they'll start eating tons of honey and all the food supplies. And all the time they're kind of like bumping into the wax and stuff like that. So the other bees will notice this and then they'll pin the bee down and bite off its legs and throw it out of the hive just to protect the hive.